Good day everyone, and welcome to another Football Manager video. This one is a little bit different. It is a kind of season highlights, but it's from Football Manager 2019, but it's actually from a standalone game, or a standalone mode. This is the Hashtag United Challenge. This season they've joined the English pyramid system in non-league, having played exhibition games before. They've now joined the non-league of English football. This is the 10th tier, I believe. It's the Thurlow Noon Eastern Senior League South Division 1 or something like that. But this is the league, one season only, so it's like a demo, and you can play, I think you can play as any other team in the division. I'm presuming most people who download it will be wanting to play as Hashtag, since that was how it was obviously advertised. But there is potential to play more there. Obviously, once the one season's up, the game ends. I'll show you that in a minute. Or at some point in this video I'll show you what happens at the end. But I decided to take control of Hashtag United. Wouldn't say I'm a huge fan, but I do follow their games, follow their progress. They're doing pretty well at the minute. The premise... Oh yeah, okay, I've just given away how I've done, but I usually do that anyway. The premise of this is, or the way it was advertised was, can you take over their manager's job? Can you do better than him with the players, with new players, all that sort of stuff? And so I thought I would give it a go. I downloaded it as soon as it came out, but I've only recently got around to playing it. And as you can see, I didn't do too badly. Managed to win the league by 10 points, although there was a few nervy moments where the team in second came close. As you can see, we were top for pretty much half the season. First half we were just kind of chasing the immediate leaders, but once we got a foothold, we never looked back. So that's the situation there. As with most of my season highlights from other Football Manager games, I will show off the team, show off the awards, end of season awards, and then we'll have a look at some games. Basically, I've not played too much Football Manager 2019. I played some draft mode with Adam. I also did some draft modes against the AI, but this is the first actual proper season of football I've done. I did win the league. Part of the reason for that is, well, for starters, Hashtag United were the favourites going into it, so immediately I had an advantage in the sense that, you know, reputation-wise, maybe even squad-wise, I had better players and I was going to be ahead, or I was predicted to be ahead of everyone else. But also, so from that point of view, it wasn't the most difficult challenge ever. It wasn't an underdog story. Well, it kind of was, but not really. The other thing I did, which might not have had an effect on it, when you create your manager profile, you can set like past reputation, like your playing time, and like what coaching badges you have. And then usually I tick the boxes that say, you know, automatically assign me these things to go along with the club that I'm going to be managing. So in Hashtag United's case, it would have been Sunday League player and National Coaching Licensee or something like that. What I did instead was I went for National B license, and I also went for semi-professional badges, reputation, so one higher. And what that did early on was it got the players on side. Because of my reputation, I got a bit of respect. Most Football Manager players that I've seen play the game, they always say, oh, you should, you know, just take the default ones. They said there are some exceptions, and I guess this was an exception where things went alright for me because I chose a higher reputation. I wasn't going to go for like international footballer because that would have been a bit too much, but semi-professional is good enough for this kind of level. So and the players respected my standing in football right from the very beginning. So I was pretty happy about that. Let's have a look at the squad. So, as I said, I have followed the Hashtag United story, and I am familiar with most of the players. However, in real life they've got the first team which play in the English non-league. Then they've got the reserve team that plays Sunday League football in a non-English non-league system, if that makes sense. Basically all those players from both the first team and the reserve squad are lumped into the first team squad at the start of the game. And as you can see here, I've now got, well, I've got 43! I thought it was like 30 something, but no, we've got 43 players, although that was 45 at one time, because, as you can see, I've actually, well, there's 3 transfers have been made. I'll go over the transfers. I'll go over the transfers after I go over the squad. But basically there was a load of players in the first team squad at the start of the game, and there's no reserve squad to put them into, so they all have to stay here, which is rather annoying. So basically the way you can tell how a player was in the squad right at the very beginning is they've got a contract. They've got a part-time contract. I don't think these players actually get paid to play for #United, although I could be wrong, it's just what I've heard in videos. But for whatever reason in game they've got a salary. That might be to make it so that they don't move away immediately and like the squad kind of stays intact, like no one can come in for them, or it could just be for another reason, I don't know. But as you can see, all the players from down here up to here, they were all in the squad originally, so that's what, 31. So, and I lost a couple of players, so that's about 33 you've got to begin with. Now what I was going to do at the start of the game is I was going to just keep the squad as it was. You know, I was going to play with the players that they have in real life and just keep it that way. Unfortunately, as you can see, a lot of them, based on their ability, a lot of them are not so good. So it came to a point where I realised there was players available who were a bit better than these players, and so I decided to go out and sign them, and that's, you know, where the other players come in, the ones that don't have a wage, because I wasn't able to offer them a salary, I was just able to offer them bonuses, which, might I add, kind of plummeted us into debt. As you can see, the balance is, yeah, not that great. It's never a good thing when the finances go to red. I'd like to think that in a normal save I wouldn't have let this happen, but I saw it happening over the course of the season, and instead of doing anything about it, I just left it as it was because I knew it was only one season. Although we're in debt of about 86 grand, and that's probably massive for a club of this size, it's not a big deal because, well, the save is ending. I'm not going to be able to continue it on, and yeah, the main thing was I kept the wage budget intact, although it kind of spiraled out of control a bit, but I managed to rectify the situation. So apart from the fact we're in debt, I kept the wage budget in control, and the board were satisfied with that. Anyway, so as I said, I signed a lot of players. I signed, how many is that? 11 plus 1, because I lost one, so I signed about 12 players, so in total that would have been about, quick maths, 44 players. Yeah, so I had about 44 players on the books at one time here. Let's have a look at the people who played the most. So as you can see, there was a large proportion of players that never actually played. There was a large proportion of players that played like a single game. But then there was a real core of players up here who did play most of the season. Well, let's actually have a look at the average rating. Who was the top performer? Oh, of course it's somebody who only played one game. Yeah, okay, so this guy, Daniel Adji. Over the course of the season, I realised there was a lot of people that were getting unhappy about lack of playtime. But then it got to the point where loads of players were getting unhappy. Well, not like mega unhappy to the point where they were coming to me and saying, oh, why aren't I playing? Under their negatives it said, might get upset or something if they don't play. And this happened with this guy. And so I played him in one game. Incidentally, he scored, evidently got a good rating, but that was the only game he played over the course of the whole season. The real top performer is this guy, Rory Oliver. He was a fantastic player, right winger, pretty good for this level, loads of 9s, which are good enough I suppose, and managed to get 13 goals along the way. Did he? Oh, 10 assists. I was about to say, I don't see any assists, but that's penalties. Yeah, I never knew it showed penalties. I'm guessing the brackets is penalties missed. That's fascinating. Next player was Romeo Akinola. He was probably our most important player. Even though he wasn't our top performer, he was a rock in the centre of midfield. He actually got red carded twice. He got banned for 4 games for elbowing someone. We missed him a lot when he was gone. But overall, good player, hard worker. And how many goals did he get? He got 8 goals, 5 assists, 3 Player of the Match awards. Oliver got 6 Player of the Match awards, as you can see up there. Then we got this guy, Yanis Constantinou. Hopefully I did a good job at pronouncing that. He is, well, he's just English. I thought he might have had another nationality. But he managed to get 17 goals. I think he might have been our top scorer. 1 assist, but he was mainly deployed as a poacher, I think. And he managed to get 2 Player of the Match awards. He was a very important player. Apart from Daniel Adji, this was our first default player who was already in the game. Tom Williams, he's a Cypriot international, although I think he was born in England and raised in England and is generally English, but could play for Cyprus, so why not? Managed to get some caps for Cyprus. Let's see, 30 appearances, 3 goals, 12 assists, mainly I think from set pieces, 2 Player of the Match awards with a 7.27 average rating. As you can see, he's declined a ton. His pace wasn't that bad at the start. Yeah, look at that, it was above 5 at the first, but now it's like down at 3, so yeah, he had a few bad performances in training, but overall he's decent with set pieces, and that's the reason why he played. I actually thought he was better than he was at, like, with regards to his defending. I mean, he's good enough for this level, but for some reason misread his stats. But he did alright, although I did leave him out the squad towards the end just because he couldn't run. His performances kind of went down a bit. Next up is Harry Honesty. He's also a real life player. Well, all of these will be real life players, but he was one of the default players for Hashtag United. As you can see, his stats are decent. He's got quite a bit of pace. 9 goals. He got 4 assists, 2 Player of the Match awards. He was injured for half the season. That's why he's only played 21 games. He had, let's see, injuries. Yeah, 6 weeks and then 2 months. So he was out for a total of about 3.5 months, which wasn't so good. But when he was fit, he played. Next we've got Robbie Sweeney. He was a stand-in for Harry Honesty. He's got more pace in him, but isn't quite as good, especially in the mentals and the technical bits. But he managed to get 3 goals, 7 assists. Did a job on the left, which is good. He was a signing. Phil Walsh was also a signing, although like Tom Williams, he's declined drastically. He's 35, Tom Williams is 38. He managed to get 6 goals this season, which was good. 3 assists, 3 Player of the Match awards. The good thing about him is he can play up front as well. I often deployed him as a target man late on in games if I was chasing a result, but mainly I played him at centre back. So he was a pretty decent player. As you can see, stats there are, they're alright, they're not too bad. Next up we've got another default player, Tashan Richmond. He managed to finish the season with 15 goals, 7 assists, 2 Player of the Match awards. He was played mainly up front as a target man. I'll explain my tactics in a moment. But he did alright, not too bad. He scored some unreal goals, I'll give you that. We've got Callum Flanagan here. He could play at left back, but I mainly used this guy centre back, mainly because of his heading and his height, even though centre back's not his best position. But he did get 2 goals, a couple of assists in there. It was insane, this squad, the amount of goals they scored. Up next, Marcus Stamp played 7 games. He was one of the original guys. His stats are alright, but I would say kind of bang average, although he did get a good run of games towards the end of the season when I needed him. Lee Hursit, he was also an original player, managed to feature in 23 games, scored 2 goals, 2 assists. He was unhappy for a lot of the season that he wasn't getting game time. I mean, his stats aren't as good as I thought they were, but overall I think he was rated by the coaching staff, and that's why he got more games. Joe Lindley was mainly my right back, although he had his form, he was very inconsistent. He had a lot of below average games. He did actually score, got 6 assists, didn't get a Man of the Match award, and his average rating is pretty poor for someone who played 35 games. Fry Shingano only played 1 game. Matt Carter, he was another original. He did pretty well. I like his mentals, and I think he's played at a higher level. Yeah, okay. So he's been a youth player clearly at Charlton, West Ham and all that. But he was used mainly as a central midfielder. 2 goals, 2 assists, 1 Player of the Match award. Who else do we have? Jack Harrison is the real life captain. I also made him captain here, although that caused a few issues between players. He's mainly used at centre back, I believe, but I used him in midfield. He's also declining at the age of 34. That's the thing about Football Manager, is as soon as players hit 30, they just start, their ability starts plummeting. He got a single assist. Didn't do amazingly well, but I mean, he was mainly a backup player. Treon Johnson, he was a striker I played on occasions. He got 5 goals, which is actually pretty good for only playing in 13 games, 1 assist, so he did alright. Although I basically saved the backup here right at the end of the season, and then I continued the game on right to the end, and he actually, like, when you continue the game in future, he leaves the club because I never kept a promise to play him in his favoured position. So, whoops. Anyway, this was the keeper, Nicky Ayer. He was a very colourful character in the sense that you didn't know what he was going to do with his mood. Sometimes he would just be anxious, sometimes he'd be calm, sometimes he'd make a world of a save, sometimes he would just have a howler. So that's why he's got 6.86 average rating. Did get 9 clean sheets in 36 games, which is about a quarter, and that's pretty decent for non-league level, I think. As you can see, stats are, well, reflex is 14, pretty decent, but everything else, not so good. His eccentricity, stat is quite interesting. I wonder if that helped him out or hindered him. Simon Peddy played 14 games. That's his stats there. He got a goal actually. Neil Richmond, he's the top scorer in real life. He's declined a ton as well, mainly because he's 35. I used him mainly off the bench because I preferred Tashan Richmond as the target man. He's actually a poacher, I see, but I was going to use him as a target man as well. Anyway, he got 1 goal, 1 assist, which is decent. Maverick Gore came off the bench once. Ricky Evans, he came off the bench a ton, and he actually got his 1 goal of the season with 2 games to go, I think. But his mentals are actually decent. I didn't realise just how good they were. I never looked at the stats all that much just because I knew there wasn't that much difference, but you can just appreciate how good this guy is. Anyway, he got 6.74 average rating off the bench. Kane Brogan played once. Ross Glede, he played a few times on the left, but as I said, he's not that good. Theo Baker played off the bench most of the time. I didn't really rate him. As you can see, none of his stats are above 10. He might have actually trained the stats up, I don't know. But the reason I played him on the bench a lot of the time was because, as you can see, he's very versatile. Can play anywhere in the midfield and attacking midfield. I'm sure he's good IRL. He's probably better than me IRL, but I didn't rate him in game. Sam Adams even played. Really? Jings, I must have played. That must be like first game of the season or something. I did not remember that. Isa, I played him a few times, although, well, he's decent. The problem is, though, he's mainly an attacking midfielder. He can't really play that well in the central midfield roles. Ryan Adams played just 1 game. I mean, he's good, but he wasn't really what I was looking for. That's part of the problem, especially given the fact he wasn't as good in the wide areas, or he didn't play in the right roles in the wide areas. And all these players that played once, they probably played first game of the season or something like that. And then to give you an idea of these players down here, like the half-star players, as you can see, none of them have stats that are even above 9. So, well, some of them don't, some of them do. They're just not rated by the backroom team. And it's very interesting. Basically, Spencer's the guy that came up with the hashtag. He's the one that owns it. So it's really strange answering to like a chairman figure and then having him in your first team squad and then being told by your backroom staff that you should transfer list him despite the fact he's your chairman. Also, people like Rich Beck, I think he's a coach, coach defender. Lewis Preston's data analyst. It's a whole family club, I guess you could say. Anyway, I've been talking a bit too much here. Those are the players that I played. Those are the players that did well. Top scorer, we'll have a quick look at that. Constantinu got 17. Tashan Richmond with 15. Rory Oliver with 13, and as you can see, everyone else just chipped in. There's quite a few scorers actually. That would be, what, 16 scorers, not bad. Most assists was Tom Williams, obviously, because he was the set piece taker. Rory Oliver got 10 as well. Most player of the matches was Rory Oliver too. That's not surprising given his high goals and assists ratio, but there's everyone else's player of the match total. Briefly, I'll have a look at the transfers going out. So Jamel Akeem, I actually used him a lot. He's played quite a bit for Tamworth, it seems, who are actually a few divisions higher. I let him go because he wasn't getting game time, but he played 10 games off the bench. Ryan Barker, he was a goalkeeper I just let go. He was signed by Burnham Ramblers, so as you can tell, he wasn't amazing. Kane Pope, I actually signed this guy. Signed him because of his pace. Never played him, so wasn't too unhappy to see him go. I also have a brief look then at the end of season awards. Fans Player of the Year, Rory Oliver, obviously. I mean, he got the highest average rate, or one of the highest average ratings, so it only makes sense. Goal of the season was Harry Honesty. Should I play it? If I can find it, I'll play it on screen now. Then signing the season, young player of the season, Rory Oliver's just like he's just like MVP here for hashtag. There's the season review. A lot of the press was about hashtag being favourites and like meeting expectations, which isn't as good as, you know, being an underdog and then exceeding expectations. But either way, there's only so much you can do in this in the league. You can either win it or you can win it. Oh yeah, squad dynamics is something I've never actually paid attention to, but as you can see, the match cohesion is good. It was bad for a long period of time, which didn't really affect them that much. We still won games, but as you can see, dressing room atmosphere, very good. Strong unity between the players. They should have no cause for complaint with the way things are going, and then managerial support is very good, which you have a good reputation when compared to the players. So, you know, my past reputation, I put as semi-professional, which is better than a lot of the players, which is why I think I'm respected. If I went as a semi-professional manager to, say, Manchester United, I definitely would not be respected. All the hierarchy, we might as well have a brief look. So some of my players have got in there, got into the realm of influential players, people like Rory Oliver, Constantino, Ayer, Walsh, Akinola, so that's pretty good. And there's quite a few in the core social group as well. There's still one, the keeper's still the only player that's not quite found a social group yet. And the happiness one is very interesting. As you can see, loads of players are very happy, or they're delighted, very happy, all that. There's lots of concern about training. Training was going so well, and then there was just this one time when, I don't know why, but all of a sudden people weren't happy that I did X, Y, or Z. Who knows? I don't know. I'm still getting to grips with training. I think training worked over the course of the season, because there was times when we were like scoring from set pieces, having practiced them in the week, so I was happy about that. Alright, what else? Should we go on to tactics? I'll briefly speak about tactics. I've not used a 4-4-2 in so long in this game. It's been so long since I've used a 4-4-2. The reason I chose this was I started the season with like a 4-5-1 or something like that, and wasn't working. I read a few guides on lower league management, and the premise was keep it simple. So I thought, right, what could be more simpler than a 4-4-2? I went and bought players that were fast. You'll notice that if I scroll all the way down, Constantino, 13 pace, 13 acceleration, so he's fast. My backup player for him was Treon Johnson, 14 pace, 15 acceleration. So they were fast players. They would play in the more advanced role, and then Tashan Richmond would play in as target man. Now, unfortunately, he was playing with his back to goal, which I think hindered him slightly. But either way, we still scored loads of goals, so I'm not complaining too much. I might have preferred to have him playing as an attacking player. He did get a lot of assists, so maybe it didn't hinder us so much. It's just sometimes you saw him standing with his back to goal, and he would make a backwards pass when I wanted to be going forwards. Maybe a target man in sport doesn't lend itself to direct play, I don't know. Anyway, we played with wingers. We actually played with a wing back for most of the season, although I did sometimes change this to a full back on defend. I'll try and select the team that I usually played. I usually played Ayer in goal, I played Tom Williams on the left, I played Phil Walsh in the centre, I played Harry Honesty on the left, I played Matt Carter in central midfield, although at times this was box to. I usually had that as the box-to-box midfielder. I like how they're on holiday, it's got a plane sign next to them, that's pretty funny. Constantino was the poacher, Tasha Richmond was the target man, Rory Oliver was on the right, and I cannot find him, there he is, Akinola was there. The person that played down the right was Joe Lindley, and I usually played Callum Flanagan there, so that's the team I usually played with. As you can see, familiarity is pretty good, and usually we played on a positive mentality because we were the strongest team in the division, although I usually changed all of this based on teams' weaknesses and that. If there was a fast player, obviously make it go lower. If we were chasing a game, push up, that sort of a thing. Pressing was a real issue, but I did try to keep it simple, and ultimately it worked. We won the league with a 4-4-2. So that is the team that I played most of the time. There's the analysis of it. Oh yeah, look, I like how there's the lines, the relationships developing between the players. I like that. Definitely a good addition. There's one there with the strikers. Everyone seems to have a buddy on the park. Alright, without further ado, it's time to look at the games. How did we win the league? Basically, the only fixtures you could play were league games, which I was okay with. There was 36 of them, plus friendlies at the start, so it was all good. As you can see, season got off to a pretty bad start. We lost our first friendly, 3-1. Jack Harrison got the goal in that game. We lost to Louis, which I think they're a higher up club. I think most of these clubs are higher up in the pyramid system, so it's not surprising that we didn't win, but it was just a bit disappointing we didn't win, if you know what I mean. But Jack Harrison scored in that game, Neil Richmond scored in this game against Louis. Brightland C, whose reserves we played, I think. Yeah, Brightland C Regent reserves, or maybe they're different clubs. Either way, Tom Williams, Ryan Adams and Harry Honesty scored in this friendly, and Seven Oaks, I believe you call them, Ryan Adams scored in that friendly. So overall, pre-season wasn't a calamity, but could have been better. Then we got to the league fixtures. We lost our very first game of the season to Little Oakley, which wasn't so good. Ryan Adams, I see, started. As you can see, I'm starting with players that a lot of them are default players that were in the team at the start of the game. And it was only later on, like in the coming games, that I actually signed players. I see Joe Lindley's like the only non-original there, and by original I mean players that started the game. Then came our first win of the season, quite a fortuitous victory against Hackney Wick. We won 2-1. Constantinu got our goal in 75 minutes, and then 5 minutes later Tashan Richmond netted a pile driver to win us the game. That was 15 minutes to go. We scored 2 goals, so you can understand why I said it was fortuitous. It was also fortuitous because we only had 5 total shots to their 18 and they had so much more possession. I think I was still playing a 4-5-1 here, or no, I was playing some form of a 4-4-2. I was playing with attacking wingers. Anyway, next we played White Ensign. We scored through Constantinu again, fairly late equaliser with 17 minutes to go. Tom Williams did miss a penalty. Oh, yeah, let's have a look at his stats. Yeah, look at that. 3 penalties, 2 scored. That makes sense. Or 2 missed, but I think it's 2 scored. You can see at this point we changed to a classic 4-4-2, so that kind of worked in our favour. Well, I mean, we just equalised there. We then played against Wivenhoe, who I think they finished second. So this is how we did against them on this occasion. They scored early through a penalty. Then Rory Oliver managed to net 2 goals after half-time, 47 minutes. And on 51 minutes. Then one of their players equalised, Daniel Taylor, with 14 minutes to go, and that left us with 1 win in our first 4 games. But it was all good. We played Braintree Town Reserves, who are one of the weakest teams in the league, managed to get 2-0 win. Rory Oliver scored after 2 minutes. Tashan Richmond scored on 4 minutes, and we held out for the victory. And a valuable 3 points. This was September, and by this time I had the squad together, as you can see here. So we got Tashan Richmond playing. This is basically the starting lineup that I showed off. At this point, Jack Harrison is still playing, but I changed things around later in the season. So Jack Harrison didn't play as much. Simon Perry's actually playing as well. But this was a 3-1 victory. Constantinu netted after 11 minutes, and then it was after half time before he doubled his goals tally in our advantage. And then Tashan Richmond netted the third on 56 with Coggeshall, I think that's how you pronounce it. They pulled one back late on. Then another victory, this time against Burnham Ramblers. If it's weird my pronunciation of that, it's because there's a place in Scotland called Burnham that doesn't have the H, so that's just that naturally rolls off the tongue. Let's go on with the game. So Simon Petty netted after 27 minutes. Akinola actually doubled our advantage, but then Burnham Ramblers pulled one back. It's all good though. Akinola restored our 2-goal advantage with 13 minutes remaining, and with 6 minutes to go, Adam Brotherton netted for Burnham Ramblers. Then we played Harwich, who got our goal here. Matt Carter equalised for us after they'd gone ahead 9 minutes previously, so that was an important point there. We then came up against Newbury Forest, 4-2 victory, most goals we'd scored in a game thus far. They scored first actually, but then Akinola netted on 5 minutes, so just 3 minutes later they equalised. Constantinu netted a double on 33 and 40 minutes, and then Neil Richmond came in on 66 minutes to score our 4th, and they pulled another one back late on. After that it was 2 draws. We drew 2-2 with Frenford, who were a pretty strong team. Phil Walsh netted on 22 minutes. They equalised after half time, then Akinola put us back in front on the hour mark. But then Frenford went and netted a late equaliser, 2 minutes to go. So a point from that game. We were then at home to Halstead, who I think were one of the top performers in the league. I don't remember. Rory Oliver got our goal. They equalised with 24 minutes remaining. Then, as you can see, we started a very good run of form. We played Lopez Tavares. Is that our first clean sheet this season? That is our second clean sheet this season. We won 3-0. Phil Walsh netted the first goal on 21 minutes. Tashan Richmond got in the act on 33 minutes. And Romeo Akinola actually has had a good scoring run lately, but he managed to get a goal on 57 minutes to give us a 3-0 win. Following that, we beat Benfleet 4-1. Tom Williams netted on 17 minutes. Treon Johnson doubled our advantage a few minutes later, and then Robbie Sweeney made it 3-0 on 37 minutes. Benfleet did pull a goal back, but Phil Walsh netted our 4th with 18 minutes to go. So really good performance there. Another good performance came up against Holland, who were actually top of the league. I think they were top of the league for a period of time anyway in the early part of the season. But Tom Williams netted a penalty after 15 minutes. Rory Oliver he scored on 21 minutes, and Akinola again with another goal. He was scoring a lot back then. He netted on 26 minutes. As you can see, 2 of their players got sent off, one of which was on 40 minutes, one of which was on half time, so that probably helped us along a lot, but as you can see, we absolutely dominated. Then we came up against Little Oakley, who we'd played at the start, managed to gain a bit of revenge there. They actually took the lead, but then Harry Honesty scored on 30 minutes. Tashan Richmond netted a few minutes later. Callum Flanagan made it 3-0 quickly in succession, and then Treon Johnson netted our fourth late on. Then we played Brightlingsea Regent Reserves, simple 4-0 win. Rory Oliver, Daniel Adjei, who scored in his only start of the season, they scored in the first 10 minutes to make it 2-0. Harry Honesty then scored in 27 minutes, and Matt Carter scored on half-time. You find that we took the lead a lot, like very early on in games. You're probably seeing that, and we just basically didn't score for the rest of the game because the job was already done. Players would become uninterested and they wouldn't really care. So that was less pleasing, but it was pleasing that we got the job done early and it wasn't a case of leaving it till the last minute. We then played Burnham Ramblers again. This time we beat them 2-0. Treon Johnson got the opening goal. They equalised on 23 minutes, but it was down to Rory Oliver to net the winner on 72 minutes. Then we played Lopes Tavares again, who we beat at the start of our winning run. Phil Walsh netted on 6 minutes. Tashan Richmond netted on 45 minutes. And that ultimately gave us the 3 points we needed from that game. Our winning run came to an end as we drew 1-1 with Harwich. Could have been a lot worse because they actually took the lead. Thankfully, Treon Johnson equalised 2 minutes later to give us a share of the spoils. I think we actually drew with Harwich earlier. Yeah, we drew 1-1 again with them. So that was 2 1-1 draws against that team. We then beat Newbury Forest 4-0 to get back to winning ways. Rory Oliver and Tashan Richmond made it 2-0 inside 10 minutes. Harry Honesty netted on 28 minutes, and Callum Flanagan, our centre-back, scored with 20 minutes remaining. Next up, we played Brightlingsea Regent Reserves. We won 2-1. Tashan Richmond and Constantinou netted our 2 goals after being 1-0 down to our opponents. We then played Benfleet after winning 4-1 earlier in the season at home. We beat them 2-1 away. Akinola did get sent off, but the game was already won then. Harry Honesty netted our first goal. They equalised, but then Constantinou made it 2-1 on 55 minutes. And so by the time Akinola was sent off, it was all good. We'd already put the game to bed, really. Then it was time for the turn of the year. We played Fire United for the first time, won 3-0. Tashan Richmond got us off to a good start after 5 minutes. Constantinou then netted on half-time, and then just after half-time to complete the scoring, give us 3 points. And it was quite funny in this game, actually, because they were playing in yellow, and we scored after 5 minutes, and I thought to myself, oh, what a rubbish start. And then I was like, oh, wait, that was us that scored. I didn't realise we were playing in our away strip. First defeat since the start of the season. It took, I think that's about 22 games unbeaten, which was fantastic. However, this wasn't such a fantastic game. Akinola got sent off pretty much in his first game back after suspension. Harry Honesty obviously got injured. But the biggest issue was the first 2 goals we conceded, they were both free kicks. It was unbelievable. 2 free kicks, 2 goals. Treon Johnson actually equalised when we were only 1-0 down. But by the end of the game, we were down to 9 men or something, and Theo White then went in and made it 3. It took them so long to score against us, even when we were down at 9 men, but there you go. We're 9 men and pouring forward trying to get an equaliser. So that was our first defeat in a long time. This was possibly game of the season. Possibly. We were 2-0 down to Frentford. I kid you not, 2 free kicks. We conceded 2 free kicks again, and we were 2-0 down to Frentford. But I guess they showed great resilience to make it 3-2 in the end. Rory Oliver got the comeback started on 67 minutes, but then we had to wait till the last 6 minutes before Lee Hursett netted our second to equalise, and then I just left them pouring forward, and Robbie Sweeney got the winner with a header on 88 minutes. Some really, really good goals in that game. Again though, we conceded 2 free kicks. The game after that was also a 3-2 victory. Again, I think we conceded at least 1, maybe 2 free kicks, so we're conceding a lot of direct free kicks, and no matter how much training I was doing with them, defining free kicks, there's only so much you can do when coming up against half-decent free kick takers. Anyway, Rory Oliver opened the scoring for us on 11 minutes. They then netted 2 on 33 and 72 minutes to go 2-1 up, but we had another comeback win as Tashan Richmond netted with 12 minutes to go, and then Phil Walsh netted the winner on 87 minutes. Once again, we got let off the hook with regards to late winners, but it wasn't to last. We lost 2-1 to Wivenhoe, who were second in the league. Very, very disappointing stuff. They took the lead on 62 minutes. Jack Harrison got sent off, but then Tom Williams managed to score from the penalty spot as we equalised with 10 men. They then went and scored a winner 10 minutes later, which was very disappointing, especially given the fact they were second. So what can you do? They were definitely one of the best teams in the division, no question. We then came back with a win against May and Baker. Rory Oliver scored the winner with 15 minutes remaining. Following this, we beat Holland 4-1. Another comprehensive victory against these guys. Rory Oliver netted the opening goal on 2 minutes. Robbie Sweeney then netted our second 2 minutes later. And we were 3-0 up inside 11 minutes as Tasha and Richmond scored our third. Constantino then netted for us after half an hour to make it 4-0. And that was it for the rest of the game. They netted one with 80 minutes to go, but it was game over by then. So that was a particularly comprehensive victory. We then lost this time to Fire United. Possibly the worst game of the season. Joe Lindley scored an own goal, which I'll show on screen just because it was so funny. But no matter how much we played, we just couldn't get past them. We didn't actually get that many shots off, unfortunately, so that probably had a reason for our defeat. But that was particularly frustrating. That was especially frustrating because that was our only game for like a 3-week period or something, and there was loads of teams behind us that had games in hand. At one point we had a 13-point lead. After this unbeaten run, after this winning run, we had like a 13-point lead, and after the Fire United game it was cut to like 6 or something. I was very wary of what might happen if we slipped up anymore. Thankfully we didn't, we didn't slip up here. We beat Wormley Rovers, who'd beaten us prior to this. Tasha and Richmond and Constantino both netted within a minute of each other to give us a 2-0 lead. They pulled one back on half-time, but we held out for a much-deserved victory. They only had one shot on target anyway, so there you go. Then it was another frustrating day as we drew 4-4 with Halstead, who were one of the high flyers in the league. We were 2-0 up or 3-0 up at one point, and then 4-2 up. It was really frustrating. Akinola got our goal. Our first goal, Tasha and Richmond then netted on 15 minutes. Then Harry Honesty netted our third on 21 minutes. At that point we looked like we were in easy streets, but then they netted twice. Then Constantino put us back in front just before half time. They netted a double in the last 15 minutes to steal the points, so wasn't so good. I think that was the last time we dropped points that season. We then beat Braintree Town Reserves 5-1. As you can see, Harry Honesty did net a hat-trick on 14 minutes, 39 minutes, and on 78 minutes. I was actually about to take him off prior to getting the penalty kick, but I was like, I'll just leave him on, he might get a hat-trick. And then he got his hat-trick. I was like, right, he's coming off. He was tired anyway. Phil Walsh and Constantino got our other goals on 26 minutes and on 28 minutes. And Braintree Town Reserves could only reply with a single goal when we were 4-0 up. And then it was the next game, I believe, that won us the league. We were playing Hackney Wick, who were fairly low down in the league. They actually took the lead. Harry Honesty, this was a fantastic game. They took the lead on 20 minutes, and then for the entire first half, we basically did nothing, and I was just thinking, this is going to be awful, what am I going to see at half-time? And then in like the few minutes before half-time, we then netted 3 goals, and that made the half-time talk a lot easier. It's like, oh yeah, you're doing a fine job, guys. Go out and do the same. But in 44 minutes, Harry Honesty netted. In the 46th minute, Constantino netted, and then Rory Oliver netted in the 48th minute. Injury time of the first half, basically. Good 3-1 win. We didn't actually win the league as a result of that game. It made it mathematically difficult for Wivenhoe to win the league because they had to win their last 2 games and overhaul a 17 goal difference, I think. But then they drew their next game, so that handed us the league title. And so by the time we played May and Baker, we were league champions. But we still won 3-0. Lee Hursit, Constantino and Ricky Evans got the goals in that game. I should point out that there's this thing, I think, in real life where Ricky Evans scores 1 goal a season. Well, just to point out, he scored 1 goal a season, and this was it. And it was a screamer, so there you go. Final game of the season, we beat Coggeshall United 4-2. Tasha and Richmond netted on 34 minutes to equalise. He then netted a penalty on half-time to give us a 2-1 lead. They pulled one back, or they equalised actually on the hour mark. But then Akinola and Constantino netted to put us 4-2 up and to give us a good win. So that was that. I should point out that I did have the temptation to play a weakened team again in the last 2 games because, we'd already won the league. It was just a bit of fun, really. The reason I didn't was because I'd had this Football Manager save in another version recently where I wanted to reach 80 points. I came, I think, second in the league, and I really wanted to get 80 points. But despite my best efforts, I couldn't get 80 points. I ended up with like 78 or something. But I really wanted to get 80 points here because by the time we won the league, we were on like 76 points. So we had to win our last 2 games or win and draw a game to get to 80 points. And so I just played a strong team, managed to get the 2 wins, and as a result, we finished on 82 points, 10 ahead of Wivenhoe, which I was very, very happy with. The real #United have played, I think, 27 games. And after we played 27 games, we were on 60 points. They're currently on 61 points. So I was doing 1 point worse than them. But the thing is, I think they're in a more competitive league than I was. I mean, a lot of these wins were quite comprehensive. I mean, it was challenging. Basically, all the teams from, I think, Benfleet upwards were pretty good. Like, you know, Frentford, we had to come from 2 goals down. Harwich, I think, might have beaten us. Harwich we drew with twice. Wivenhoe beat us. Halstead might have beaten us. I don't remember, but they all gave us tough games basically. Halstead drew 4-4 with us. So the top teams were quite challenging. The rest, well, some of them beat us. That was mainly due to our incompetence, but also because those teams probably had a bit of quality about them. And yes, as a result of all that, we are league champions. We're actually the highest scorers as well, I should point out. Let's have a look at our home form and all that. Home record isn't actually that good. We drew and lost a lot at home. Our away record must be good. Yeah, our away record is pretty decent. So yeah, I didn't realise our home record. I guess Halstead, yeah, they must have had a poor away record. Oh look, they're down here. Look how low Halstead are. Interesting stuff. Anyway, now let's have a look at some stats then. I know the video's getting long, but might as well just check it out. Well, see, average rating, Rory Oliver is second highest, up at 7.4. Akinolo's up at 7.3. Top goal scorer, Constantino, is just 2 behind the leaders. Tom Williams is up there for most assists, joint most assists. Let's have a look at team stats then. Let's have a look at detailed stats actually. Ooh, this is interesting. I didn't know this existed. Average possession. We must have been low. Look at that, average possession and we're lowest. Oh, that's fantastic. I think that's because we played direct a lot, so it was just, you know, pumping long balls up to the strikers. So yeah, possession doesn't win you titles. That's, I guess, the crux of that story, but that's pretty funny. Penalties taken, we took 5. We scored, what, 4? Yeah, we only missed 1. We won the most headers, no surprise there. We had some good players in the air. We're actually second lowest for yellow cards, or joint lowest, which is pretty pleasing. Alright, there we go, we're top for goals. Played the most, which is good. Wait, is that corner goals? We got 14 goals from corners, which looks like it's the most in the division. We got the most crosses completed. Oh no, that's cross completion ratio. But we all, you know, numerical wise, we also had the most crosses completed. Goals from corners, 14, we've already seen that. Oh, here we go, goals from direct free kicks. So we had 5. Who were the teams that scored against us? Frentford got a couple against us. I don't remember who else, but there was a couple of teams that scored a lot of free kicks against us, which was really annoying. Got the most goals from indirect free kicks, which was... oh, there's so many here. Attendance. Oh, we've got the highest attendance. I'm not sure that's surprising if this is based off real life, but there you go. Stadium sellout. No one had a stadium sellout. Highest average attendance, or no, that's highest attendance in total, which actually goes to Lopes Tavares, who had 335. Also, just want to point out, after winning the league, job security was up at 73%, and there are no major criticisms. Usually there's always something. There's always, oh yeah, we lost 1-0 to this team about 5 months ago and everyone's unhappy, but, you know, nothing here, nothing to report, which is fantastic. Club finances, despite being in debt, 55%, they're happy with my job. So clearly it's all their fault. Competition, 65. I mean, we won the league. We did what we were supposed to do, so that's all good. Team winning the league is a particular highlight. Also, I got a new contract midway through the season. As you can see, I'm now signed up until 2020, even though I won't be able to complete it, but it's still pretty cool to get offered a new contract. I was about to point out my career stats as well. Oh look, total career earnings, 25k, if only that was real. No. Anyway, now as you can see, 25 games won, 69% win rate percentage, that's not bad, and we've won the one league. I guess it's not that interesting after just one season, and especially one season where there was no cups, but there you go. Anyway, what happens at the end of the game when I press continue? That happens. Thank you for playing the Football Manager demo, the game will now be saved. So that's what happens at the end of it all. I believe I played 1 or 2 of the old Football Manager demos back in the day, and I'm pretty sure they only lasted half a season. Could be wrong, but there you go. Anyway, that is it. Thank you very much for watching this season highlights. It was actually a lot of fun to play this. I played most of it over a single day, and it was very, very, very good. It was difficult at first to get to grips with the tactics and the players and that, and obviously there's the new tactic system, but eventually I got down to enjoying it, and we obviously won the league, due partly because we were favourites and also because we signed some good players. But anyway, thank you. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you when I see you.